Hi, my name is Todd Farnsworth, and I'm the pastor of the Belchertown United Church of Christ in Belchertown, Massachusetts, and welcome to Tapping on the Tornado. This week marks the 1 year anniversary of the tornado that tore through western Massachusetts on June 1st, 2011. For many of us, the sights and the sounds and the smells associated with the tornadoes are still a very real and a very present concern. When the weather forecasters in our area predict heavy winds or lightning or strong showers, maybe even hail, we might feel our anxiety levels rise a little bit higher than they did before June 1st of last year. Our hearts beat a little bit faster, and we might even recognize that we're short of temper and a bit scattered in our thinking. Stress left over from the storm has made its mark in our body and in our soul. And without giving it some attention, that stress can lead to long-term health issues as well as emotional distress. We might find ourselves extra irritable or having restless sleep or obsessing on thoughts about the coming storms. We might relive that tornado experience, the sights, the sounds, the smells, over and over again. Today I'd like to share with you a new way of praying. I call it tapping into prayer now, and it utilizes some of the techniques from Gary Craig, the founder of Emotional Freedom Technique. And well, I kind of give it my own spin, and I'm not sure Gary would completely endorse my methods, but I also include with the tapping some traditional prayer so as to move the holy into a healing position within our bodies. Now, perhaps you saw there's a brief disclaimer that explains everything about what I know about EFT and tapping and meridians. So if you haven't read it yet, take a peek at it, and if you're comfortable with what you've read, continue on with this video. Otherwise, it's been good knowing you, and may God give you blessings and peace throughout today. If you're ready to move on and comfortable with what you've read, and if you've tried other means to lessen the stress or anxiety you've been feeling around the tornado, and those methods haven't worked yet, I'd like you to consider giving this a try. It's helped many people I've worked with around different issues, but I wanted to get this out to you this week, so although it may not meet your specific needs, it'll most likely have some positive effect upon your well-being. Let me just flip the page here. And if you're ready, and if my computer's ready, with a little help from the Holy, let's get started. First thing you need to know is that there are a series of points on your body that I'm going to ask you to tap on while we pray. And these points are connected to pathways in your body through which the holy or the sacred travels throughout your body. By tapping on these points, you'll be loosening up these disruptions that the tornado caused in your soul, or that experience of the tornado, or even just thinking about the tornado causes in your soul. The loosening of those disruptions will allow the holy to flow freely through your body so that you can experience healing from the storm. So the points to tap on are, and you can tap along with me as I say these points, the karate chop, which is right on this part of your hand, and you're going to just tap right there and use 3 or 4 fingers to do that. There's the top of your head is another point. Your eyebrow, and if you go right in between your 2 eyebrows and put 3 fingers and tap gently, that's another point. Your outer eye, feel a bone on the outside of your eye. You can tap right there gently. You don't want to bruise yourself, just give it a little gentle tap, that'll do it. Under the eye, the bone that's underneath your eye. Under your nose, or above your lip, as the case may be. Under your lip, or above your chin, as the case may be. On your collarbone, you can feel that right there, the top of your sternum, and follow out And I usually use 3 or 4 fingers because I want to get as much of the collarbone as I can, make sure I hit my target. And then under your arm, which might be a little hard to see, but it's about one hand's width underneath your arm. And if you just kind of move from your armpit down to about 4 inches below and just tap there. And then finally your wrists, and you're just going to take the flat of your wrists and tap them together. Okay? So have you identified those parts? There's the karate chop, there's the top of the head. It's pretty easy. Anyways, you can just follow me as I go along. Okay, before we begin the tapping prayer, I want you to imagine some aspect of the tornado that is upsetting you right now. Perhaps it's a smell that keeps on coming up in your nose and you think about the tornado, or a sound, or something you saw, or something you felt as the reality of the tornado came to you. And I'd like you to just think of one specific aspect of the tornado. We don't want to take the whole thing at once. We'll just take one small part and write it down. You can use other aspects with this prayer later, but just choose one right now. One that you feel very emotional about and is causing you some trouble. Okay? And I want you to now that you have that aspect of the tornado in your mind, I want you to assign a color to that aspect that you've identified. It can be any color. Just see that color when you think of the aspect that we're going to pray about. Okay? So just choose a color and say, this color represents this aspect of the tornado for me. All right. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being just a little bit and 10 being a whole lot, I'd like you to rank your feelings about the aspect that we're going to pray about. How much does it affect you? How much energy do you feel when you think about that particular aspect of the tornado? Okay, if it's really low and 1, then maybe you want to choose something a little higher so you can feel the effects of this tapping at prayer. If it's 10 or maybe somewhere in between, and just write that number down or mark it so that you remember how you were feeling before we began the prayer. This number that we're writing down or recording is called an SUD, or a subjective unit of distress. Kind of just how we feel about that. Okay? Good. All right, now we can begin. Would you take a big deep breath with me? And let it out. And we're going to start chopping on our karate point. And repeat after me. And just follow along. Even though I have this color, I am deeply and completely loved by God. Even though I have this color, this tornado-tinged color, I am deeply and completely loved by God. Even though I have this color, this wind-whipped color, I am deeply and completely loved by God. Now, while you're tapping here, you can stop repeating me for a moment. I want you to just keep tapping on this color, this wind-whipped color. If you don't really believe that you are fully and deeply loved by God, I believe that about you, but if you're having trouble with that and it's easier for you to just generalize it to say you are deeply and completely loved so that you have a safe space, then just say I'm deeply and completely loved. I'm going to add the by God because by God I believe you are deeply and completely loved. So, but that's my personal bias as a minister. So, even though, let's repeat now, even though I have this color, I am deeply and completely loved by God. Okay. Top of the head, even though I have this color, I am deeply and completely loved by God. Eyebrow, even though I have this color, I am deeply and completely loved by God. Outer eye, even though I have this color, I am deeply and completely loved by God. Under the eye, even though I have this color, I am deeply and completely loved by God. Under the nose, even though I have this color, I am deeply and completely loved by God. Under the lip, even though I have this color, I am deeply and completely loved by God. Collarbone, even though I have this color, I am deeply and completely loved by God. Under your arm, even though I have this color, I am deeply and completely loved by God. And your wrists, even though I have this color, I am deeply and completely loved by God. And I know some of you might be saying, this is pretty weird stuff you're doing here, Todd. It is kind of strange, but it works for many people, so I encourage you to keep on, okay? All right, we're going to move to the karate chop again. Even though I have this color, and this color makes me feel anxious, I am deeply and completely loved by God. Top of the head, even though I have this color, and sometimes I obsess on this color, I am deeply and completely loved by God. Eyebrow, even though I have this color, and these obsessions cause me to feel afraid, whatever number I chose worth of afraid, I am deeply and completely loved by God. Outer eye, even though I have this color, I am deeply and completely loved by God. Under eye, even though I have this color, and I can sometimes smell this color, I am deeply and completely loved by God. Under the nose, even though I have this color, and I can sometimes see this color, and sometimes I can hear this color, and sometimes I can taste this color, and sometimes this color causes me to lose sleep and feel irritable. I am deeply and completely loved by God. Under the lip, even though I have this color, I am deeply and completely loved by God. Collarbone, even though I have this color, this tornado-tinged color, I am deeply and completely loved by God. Under the arm, even though I have this tornado-tinged color, and it drives me to distraction thinking about it, I am deeply and completely loved by God. Wrists, even though I have this color, and it makes me feel like I'm spinning out of control, Auntie M, Auntie M. I am deeply and completely loved by God. Keep tapping, keep tapping. Top of the head. Even though I have this Auntie M color, I didn't always have this color. Eyebrow. Even though I have this color I didn't always have, I can consider living without this color in my life. Outer eye. I am deeply and completely loved by God. Under your eye. Even if I begin living without this tornado-tinged color, I am deeply and completely loved by God. Under your nose. I can choose another color. I can choose a safer color. I can choose a color that reminds me I am deeply and completely loved by God. Under the lip. I can choose a color that reminds me of peace and calm and serenity. Collarbone. I am deeply and completely loved by God. Underarm. When I choose that color of calm, that color of safety, I am deeply and completely loved by God. Wrists. If I can't choose that color today, because I'm not quite ready to let go of this color, I am still deeply and completely loved by God. Top of the head. I can choose a color of serenity when I'm ready. I am deeply and completely loved by God. Eyebrow. I can see a color that God has prepared for my peace of mind. Outer eye. I can hear a color that God has prepared for my peace of mind. Oops, I'm sorry. Under the eye. I can smell a color that God has prepared for my peace of mind. Under the nose. I can taste a color that God has prepared for my peace of mind. Under the lip. I can feel a color that God has prepared for my peace of mind. Under your arm. Even though I have this color, I am deeply and completely loved by God. Keep tapping. Karate chop point. I am deeply and completely loved by God. top of head. I am deeply and completely loved by God. Okay, now I ask you to put your fingertips together and take a deep breath and exhale through your mouth. Thank you, God. Take a moment and think about the aspect you were praying for. Note any shifts you may have experienced during the prayer, and what number of anxiety does that aspect of the tornado cause you right now? Write that number down. If the number is lower, wonderful. I'm glad to know that the Spirit was moving and we were able to shift things up a little bit through that tapping prayer. That's good. That's great news. If the number is lower but not as low as you'd like it to be, you still feel a little bit of anxiety, maybe you're at a number that's a little higher than 0, then I invite you to try identifying some other aspect of the tornado that may be keeping you from feeling peace, and prayer tap on that particular aspect. You kind of review this video and just do the same thing, just work through it with this new aspect of the tornado. And if the number is higher, the same or higher, that's okay too. Nothing to worry about as far as the tapping goes. It means that there's probably some aspect that's more important to you. Or if it's higher, then you're probably able to identify some aspect that came up as we were tapping that you thought, whoa, that really makes me more agitated. Take note of that particular aspect and go through the tapping prayer with that aspect that's causing you the higher number and bring that down. As we travel through our bodies and travel through our soul, identifying the different aspects from the tornado that have affected us, we'll find that God is working to bring our bodies into equilibrium again. The tornado was very disruptive to people, and so the tapping can help bring that back to a place of harmony for our bodies. Okay? The generic nature of this video might not be specific enough to loosen the blockage the tornado caused in you either. So you might want to work with more particular language. Instead of using a color, you can use the actual words that raise the anxiety in you and cause you the stress and the discomfort around the tornado. If the number is not going anywhere after you've given this a few tries, please contact me at the email that's associated with tapping into prayer, and I will be glad to contact you and try to work with you to help bring those numbers down. It's important for us to work together during difficult times like these, and hopefully this will be one more tool you can put in your kit bag, and it can bring you some relief and remind you that you are deeply and completely loved by God. I pray that the Spirit holds you, I hear the bell ringing. I hope the Spirit holds you in peace and brings healing through this video, and I'll keep all of you in my prayers through this coming week. I'm Reverend Todd Farnsworth of the Belchertown United Church of Christ, and I wish you much peace and healing. Oops, I don't know how to turn this off. I gotta learn this.